Hey guys, it's Amy here, and today I'm bringing you my January wrap up. This month I've read 10 books, which I think is the most amount of books I've ever read in a month before, so that's very exciting. I'm aware that that means the video may be a little bit longer, so I'm going to try and get through the books as quickly as possible. So the first book I read in January was Whodunit by Jon Scieszka. I did really enjoy this book, but I found it to be quite repetitive near the end. The premise of the story is that all these YA authors have joined together to make this story. They're basically writing little alibis as to why they haven't killed someone, and obviously I'm guessing all these authors didn't meet with each other beforehand and didn't write them together because some of them are quite similar and quite repetitive, so that meant I gave this book 3.5 stars. The next two books that I read are from a series called the Unlikely Exploits series, and that was The Heir of Mystery and The Rise of the House of McNelly, and these are books that I read as a child. They're by Ardagh, and I've never seen anyone mention these before. They're really enjoyable, and I couldn't remember the series, and I read the first one over Christmas and I wanted to read the second two, and they just follow the story of this family who all have like weird powers and kind of discover them as they're on a kind of quest to find their brother's brain. Purely for the fact that I enjoyed them when I was younger and I enjoy them again now, I gave them both 4 stars. The next book I read was The Children of Men by P.D. James, and this book was amazing and I really enjoyed it, and I reckon it's probably going to be in my top 14 of 2014 next year. All the way through reading this I assumed that the author was a young person for some reason, but then finding out that P.D. James was actually in her 70s when she wrote it, I was quite impressed. She's now in her 90s, and this story was so awesome. The basic story is that all the men in the world have become infertile and nobody can get pregnant, and the last person to get pregnant was like 25 years ago. So there's just a group of young people who were the last people to be born. They're kind of seen as these kind of special people because there's been no other births after them. We follow a man and he discovers many exciting things. By the end of the book there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. I gave 5 out of 5 stars to this book, surprisingly. Next on my list is Roverandom by J.R.R. Tolkien. I received this for Christmas and was really excited to get into it, and I loved it so much. It was so good. We follow a dog named Rover who gets shrunk down by a wizard to a tiny size, and he is then on a quest to find the wizard again to ask to be brought back to his normal size. But in that whole quest he ends up on the moon and he ends up under the sea, and it's all very good and all very exciting and just told brilliantly by J.R.R. Tolkien. Definitely a good book if you have children and you want to read them Tolkien. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The next on my list was Tales from the Perilous Realm by J.R.R. Tolkien. This book is a collection of short stories from Tolkien, and it has 5 stories including Roverandom. The others are Farmer Giles of Ham, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, Smith of Wootton Major, and Leaf by Niggle. Also at the back of the book is an essay called On Fairy Stories. I found this is a really good book to pop in and out of because the stories were quite short and you could read one and then come back to it a few days later and read another if you fancied, although I did read it all in one go. Along with the stories are illustrations from Alan Lee, and I think his illustrations are absolutely gorgeous, so another 5 out of 5 stars for Tolkien on this one. The next book I read this month was The Fire King from the Invisible Order series by Paul Crilley. This is the second in the series, and I'm not aware that there is actually a third one, and I think there should have been, but I'm not sure it's been written. This follows the children back in time to save London from the Great Fire King, i.e. the Fire of London in 1666, and yeah, I thought this was a really good story. All intermingled within that is the fairies and the otherworldly things, and it was just a really good story, and I think any young person would really enjoy it. I'm 21 and I enjoyed it. Very easy to read and the characters are very relatable and easy to connect with, so I'd recommend. I gave this 4 out of 4 stars. The next 2 books I read this month were Uglies and Pretties by Scott Westerfeld, and I really enjoyed these actually. I enjoyed Uglies a lot more than Pretties, but still thought they were really good, and I hope to carry on with specials next. The idea of the story is that everyone is considered ugly until they reach the age of 16, when they can have surgery to make themselves pretty. Now the protagonist Tally discovers that there are a group of people who don't want to become pretty and don't want to have that pretty lifestyle, who have managed to escape the cities and live somewhere else and live an ugly life. In Uglies we follow her story to try and find these people and what happens when that all occurs, and in Pretties the story is continued, but I won't spoil what happens, but they are both very good. I did enjoy Uglies more though. I gave 4 stars to Uglies and 3.5 stars to Pretties. The final book that I read in January was Lord of the Flies by William Golding. My boyfriend lent me this book because he thought I would enjoy the story, and I did enjoy the story. The idea of it is that there are a group of boys who land on an island. They end up having to fend for themselves and find food, and they end up fighting with each other, and it's all very dramatic. I did enjoy the story, but I didn't think the writing was very easy to get along with. It was very disjointed, and I didn't really enjoy the characters very much. I thought that they were not very easy to relate to, possibly because they were all young boys and I'm not a young boy. Nonetheless, I did enjoy the psychological aspects of them and them being on this island and what they're having to deal with. All in all, I gave this 3.5 stars. So those are all the books I read in January. If you've read any of those books and you have any opinion on them, or if you want to share the books that you read in January with me, then comment down below and I'd love to chat to you. I'll leave my Goodreads, Twitter, blog links, everything down below if you want to follow me there. I think that's everything for today, guys. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. Bye! I'm gonna only buy a book if I've read 5 of the ones I own already. So for every 5 books I can buy a new one.